Hey everyone, this is our weekly podcast where we go over hot topics in the NFL. We are the football tailgaters. With me today I have, as always, Yams, our Jets fan, Andy, our unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, a Cowboys fan. So we got a lot of topics to go over today, and we're going to have a little bit of a Jets talk here. It's getting closer now. Training camp is right around the corner. We got a little bit of a Chargers talk, specifically about the running backs. We got Austin Ekeler situation going on here, and we got Odell Beckham saying it's his last season, this coming season. We got Zack not showing up to training camp. And then also we're going to talk about the NFL, the new quarterback Netflix series, and then lastly, fantasy QB rankings. So, okay, let's start with the Jets. Yams, I want to see what you think about this. Okay, how many games do you think the Jets will win?
I think it's a comfortable 10 games that they win. I would probably push it to 11, only because I think this year I feel confident that they can sweep the Patriots.
They have a tough schedule in the beginning of the season. They have Dallas, New England, which, I do believe they can win that game. They have the starting of the season with Buffalo. They have the Chiefs, they have Denver, and Philly. So it's going to be a really rocky start for them. So if they can win multiple of those games, I'm sure they can even win more than 12 games, because at the end of the season, they have Atlanta, Houston. I'm sure they can win one against Miami, Washington, Cleveland, and against the Patriots.
I definitely have them over 9 wins for sure. I can confidently say that. Now, when we get kind of in the talks about 10, 11 wins, we can talk about Buffalo Bills beating them at least once, right? Maybe twice. Maybe they have some trouble with the Bills. Other than that, it looks pretty solid to me. Who else can they struggle with? I can see maybe, oh man, it's going to be tough. I don't know, maybe a Patriots loss, because it's not going to be a perfect season for them. But they're looking really good. Like I said earlier, training camp's already started. It's ending around the corner, and they're looking pretty good in training camp. And Garrett Wilson is looking solid. It seems like Aaron Rodgers is doing his job as well, even though, he looks crazy in those new pictures. I don't know if you guys seen him in the uniform. He looks like he's almost like out of place. It's weird to see him like that. I can see him drop.
I can agree with that. Yeah, it's going to take some time to get used to. He's been in the Green Bay uniform for so many years. So, yeah, I thought you were saying he looked kind of crazy eyes, but he's looking good to me.
Well, no, but I think it's also with Peyton Manning when he went to the Broncos. That was extremely weird to see.
Yeah.
Right? That was just, for me as an NFL fan, yeah, that was the biggest change it took me a while to get used to. Even though seeing him play with Denver, it was just super weird. Tom Brady, it wasn't that big of a change for me. It was a big change going from Patriots to Tampa, but since there was some history that he needed to get out of there, some issues there. Sort of like Aaron Rodgers in a way, but I just saw him, I don't know, he has a big-time personality, Tom Brady, to be like, okay, it was a little weird with Tampa, but it was okay. And with Aaron Rodgers...
No, he embraced it really quick. He embraced Tampa really quick.
But, a big difference is when Tom Brady went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he brought in really good players with Antonio Brown and Gronkowski. And Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, he brought Cobb and Lazard. You can't compare those players. It's not going to be the same as how Tom Brady did it in Tampa Bay, but it is going to be very interesting, because the Jets did already have some big time players already there with Garrett Wilson. They have the running back Breece Hall, and I'm sorry, Aaron, you said
Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Breece Hall.
Yeah. So there's some weapons already there, so we'll see how that goes.
I think maybe it was more established already with the Jets. I don't think there's as much of a need for big-time players as what the Buccaneers had. I don't think they need as many, and there was no big deal if they didn't get to get someone as big as, DeAndre Hopkins. I think they'll be fine. Now, it's a weird schedule, too. So they start off with Monday Night Football with the Bills, right? I can see them losing that. And I think chemistry plays into this first game here, right? How's this chemistry going to work? Yeah, you work on it in training camp and a little bit in the preseason, but this is an actual big-time game, and there's going to be a lot of pressure. It is prime time, and it's their first game. And then you got the Cowboys right after. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is basically the kryptonite of the Dallas Cowboys, but you never know. Again, you never know. So maybe those two are going to be kind of murky of like win-loss. A clear win against the Patriots right after. I think they'll lose against the Chiefs. I think they'll struggle with the Eagles, and they got a bye right after. And they'll win against the Broncos. Right after the bye, it's Giants, and then I think they'll win that pretty comfortably. They got the Chargers. I don't know how the Chargers are going to be. I feel like they're such a wild card. They got such a stacked roster, but it's so much wasted potential there. So, I don't know. It depends how they're doing.
I have the Chargers as a loss.
Yeah, I think based on history, though, and what I've seen from the Chargers, I think the Jets can win it. And then as for the Raiders, I think they can win that pretty comfortably as well. And then maybe they win against the Bills. I think they'll be 1-1 with the Bills. I don't think they'll win both games. That's, my opinion. And then they got Black Friday, the first, in like a long time, if not ever, against the Dolphins. It'll be interesting too. It's a weird day to start on, and it's a short week for them. It's going to be interesting for that too. They might lose that one too. They got an easy one against Falcons Texans, so that's 2 in a row. And then they got the Dolphins again. I don't know. It's right after that. It's kind of. They can win those pretty comfortably. Commanders, Browns, and Patriots. So we can maybe see them going like 12 wins here.
Yeah. They can go 12. I think comfortably they can go with 10. That's a comfortable statement that I'm okay with. 10 I'm comfortable with.
It really depends on the beginning of the season. The first game, watching the NFL for many years, even whoever wins and loses, it doesn't dictate how the rest of the season's going to go. We've seen really bad teams win that first week, and then did I say bad teams or good teams? Well, really bad teams win.
I don't know.
Really bad teams win in the first game of the season, and then they start just being really, really bad throughout the season. Sorry, I've been fasting for almost 48 hours, so I can't really think straight.
So September 11, that's Monday night, and so it's a big thing. It's 9/11.
9/11.
It's in New York, even though they're playing the true New York team. Who cares? New York Jets is really, the representative of New York City. So
they're even putting it on ABC.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I don't think they'll lose that game. It's too much emotion. It's I could see a chemistry being an issue, but I think they find a way to win it.
Really? I don't know. That chemistry thing that Aaron brought up is pretty important because it's their first game. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing that much in the preseason, to tell you the truth.
Well, we don't know. But I'm hearing
it's Aaron Rodgers.
A lot of good stuff.
Of course.
Like big
there's can always.
No, is it?
It depends how much you take that into account, the training season and preseason. You can have, because sometimes, and we've seen this before, I can't like right off the bat give you a great example, but there's times where like, really let's look at Russell Wilson. There was a lot of hype around him with the Broncos, right? And the training camp, preseason, stuff like that. Mainly training camp. They were hyping him up, Broncos and everything. They looked like, they're going to be solid. And he bought into the hype. And I'm sure plenty of Broncos fans bought into the hype. And look what happened. It's just an example. I'm not saying that's how it's going to go, but training camp isn't everything, and even preseason. And I think it's okay if it's a rocky start. It's okay if the chemistry's not there right away. They can fix it. As long as they find a way to fix it, it's fine. I think they're going to struggle with the Bills the first game because of chemistry. But they can fix it in that game. Let's say they have an awful start in the first half, and then the second half, they switch it, and then all of a sudden, they're destroying or whatever. But the Bills have an advantage because their roster change wasn't crazy. Right here, what the Jets have is a crazy roster change, and then, it's not a terrible thing. I don't think it's bad that if they lose their first 2 games.
No, but I really do disagree with you. If there's a roster change, the Jets have the upside because they finally got the quarterback and a really good quarterback. If you tell me, their chemistry is still okay with Buffalo, I'm okay with that. Bring that old chemistry that they just weren't able to win games last year. So bring it on.
I didn't Tom Brady struggled in the first beginning with Tampa Bay. I remember he was really pissed when they lost against.
Yeah, I have confidence that they're gonna win it. Mm-hmm. But maybe it'll be a rocky start. I can accept that, but I have confidence that they'll win it.
I was trying to see quickly if there's any other quarterback that went. For example, like Peyton Manning, what was his record after he went with Denver? I can't pull it up quickly though. But it's just a quick example. Russell Wilson, he was a great quarterback when he was in Seattle.
I agree with you.
He started, and I think that's a really good example of how like a great quarterback, just because he's in a new team, doesn't mean it's gonna be instant success. There's got to be some fitting into, and it just really depends on how the team works and how well everything fits in properly, and that's okay. Like I said, it won't be an issue.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling out the possibility of instant success. I think that could totally happen too.
Phillip Rivers was another one, and he did have some success with the Colts, so I'm sure that they're gonna have success.
I think it's a coin toss.
You think it's a coin toss? Even though I'm a fan of Russell Wilson, I do put Aaron Rodgers really high up there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's a higher percentage in that coin flip that it's gonna land well for them than negatively.
Was this back in 2012?
I believe so.
What?
Peyton Manning.
Oh.
When he moved to Broncos. That's a long time ago. I feel old.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on over to the running back talk here, which I think is kind of like the biggest thing right now, besides the hype around the Jets, with the running back situation. And I wanted to bring this up because Austin Ekeler said this on a podcast. So we have the whole thing, running backs aren't getting paid, right? You know, Dalvin Cook, free agency, Kareem Hunt, free agency, Ezekiel Elliott, free agency. And it's always been a conversation. And right now, especially, there's a specific spotlight on these running backs that, you know, they're not getting paid what they think they deserve. They do a great job, and then they just get thrown away as if they were nothing. They release free agency, Ezekiel Elliott. I think Dalvin Cook is a better example of how he was a successful quarterback, and he was accomplishing 1,000 yards every single season, and he got let go. So, are the Chargers hypocrites for not paying Ekeler and asking for a higher price when it came to trade talks?
It's a complicated situation for the running backs. It's a struggle between labor and a capitalist, right? So the labor person, in this case Austin, wants to be compensated, but they don't want to fork up because the true reality is running backs are easily replaced very easily.
Yeah, I've said it before that in the next bargaining agreement that the Players Union has against the NFL is to put in a certain type of clause or contract for these running backs because they have a really bad deal. They sign on with this rookie season with the rookie deal, and they just play those years, and basically you got the prime years out of them, and now that it's time to pay them once the rookie year is done, then they trade them, or you're just not worth it.
There's some rare instances where you have a great running back that is consistent, like someone like Nick Chubb, and then you have someone like Ezekiel Elliott. He did great, he got paid, and now look at him. He's not performing as consistent enough, so he got released to free agency because he wasn't doing what he was getting paid to do, the amount of money, right? So you're kind of in this like very complicated situation where they deserve the money 1,000%, and especially like someone that carries a lot of baggage like Derrick Henry. They deserve that money because they're carrying that team, especially when they have a terrible offensive line. You should definitely pay them what they deserve, depending on that situation. And I think, yeah, there for sure needs to be some kind of clause. And also consider their situation, right? How much of an impact are you giving the team into what factors into these wins? So, like I said, again, Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry is absolutely carrying this Tennessee Titans team, and he deserves all the money that he should get paid, you know?
Well, what about Saquon Barkley? He just got paid today. A 1-year deal of $11 million. And he is actually what carries the New York Giants. He is the face
and that's
everything.
A problem.
He's the face.
That's a problem for the running backs. And that shouldn't happen. He doesn't deserve that because he's a great running back. He could be top 3 when he's fully healthy and has a good team with him.
Is it safe to blame Ezekiel Elliott for
getting
paid with the Rams? Okay. Yeah, you can put him in there. Getting paid for an incredible rookie season, but then just falls off right after.
Because it was Todd Gurley and then Zeke Elliott.
Okay,
and Todd Gurley is what sparked this market, and then it was Zeke Elliott right after.
So are those teams to blame that now other teams don't want to pay the running backs, or it's just the way the market is? That they just don't want to pay running backs because they're easily replaced.
They overpaid Todd Gurley. I don't think he deserved a lot less. I think it was just an overpay, and they definitely, they gave too much, and it messed up the whole market.
Especially since Gurley had that arthritis knee, and you end up paying him. It kind of shows you a little bit like, okay, we're paying you for what you've done, but business-wise, for the team, it doesn't really make sense because now you're hurting from other players to get paid. And you're not going to get the same workload that you got from that player. Another perfect example is Sanders. from the Philadelphia Eagles. He went to the Super Bowl, and he's a really good running back. He had to decide: are you going to stay with the Super Bowl winning type of team that can go to the Super Bowl again, or you're just going to get your money and go to the Panthers? I don't blame players to get your money because you don't have so many years, especially as a running back. So it really depends on what the player is. Does he want to win that Super Bowl or go and get his money? I don't blame either or whatever they want to choose.
Yeah, no, for sure. It sucks for them, and I hope there's a fix soon. Because this is not good.
Well, how would you fix it?
It's not looking good for. I personally don't know. I'm not like a crazy expert. Again, like I don't have a crazy amount of ideas, but I think there has to be a fix, right?
I'll tell you how you can fix it. On the draft year when they're coming out of college, if you're gonna be drafting a running back, let's say like for example, Bijan Robinson just came out of college. He's put in as a real top tier running back. If you get a running back in the first round, that means that you have to play a minimum an X amount because they're coming out of college. And then it goes lower and lower the deeper you go into the draft. But right off the bat, if you believe an NFL team is a particular running back from a college is going to do extremely well, that you really need him in the first round, then that means he's worth paying that high amount. It's a risk for both, but that's what you're leaning towards of getting, and that I think that fixes some of the issues here, because it'll be really hard for a running back that already playing his prime years to get another contract.
True.
Yeah, that could be. And I mean, I don't know.
Players,
it's not a bad idea.
The players union. I'm here to be hired if they want me.
I'm sure there's a lot of things they're going over right now, especially at this moment. So I'm sure there has to be something around the corner that they can come out with and finally come to agreement with that.
Yeah, because look, Cook is still available. I mean, Zeke, I understand Zeke because everybody have seen him not play as well as he used to. But
I think Cook being a free agent is insane.
It's insane. He's a top tier running back, and for him to continue to be available, that's insane. So I'm sure he's going to get signed once the training camp starts for everybody and running backs get injured. We just saw Hines get hurt for the full season. So there are going to be teams that are going to need a running back. So I'm sure he'll get signed sometime.
Speaking about longevity, Odell Beckham says after he signed a 1-year deal with the Ravens that the 2023 season is his last season. What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
Is it weird? That's weird. So is he saying that he's going to play like it's his last year? Like it's his last season? He's going to give it all he can?
He said, quote, "I'm thinking like this is my last year."
I mean, I'm thinking he's trying to tell you people that he's going to give it all he has, like it's his last. I mean, why else would you want to come back if it's just for... Well, he did get just signed for 1 year, too. It's weird.
He also said, "I'm going to give it my all this year, and then if something happens after that, we can go from there."
It's not his last season.
It really depends on how it ends for him this season. If he gets injured again, it's definitely his last season. He's been getting injured constantly, and he's been out of the NFL for some time now. So
that's the only thing I could see ending his career if he gets another injury. But if he's fine and maybe he plays whatevs, he's not ending.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's definitely going to be his last season. He's having these problems right now with his health. It was that torn ACL that I think really kind of ended his career, and this is the tail end of it. And I think he knows that, but he doesn't want to rule it out just in case, because I think he probably has a small chance. He thinks he has a small chance to continue past this year, but it's his last year, and I think he'll be fine with that. He had a good career. He's a Super Bowl champion. He got paid his money. He had a great career with the Giants. It's fine. We don't talk about the Browns situation, but he's getting his last good paycheck, right? Even though he didn't want to sign with the Ravens at first, but then eventually caved to it. It's fine. It's great. And it is what it is. He gave it his all. It sucks, injuries got in the way, but sometimes that's just how it is. But he was a great wide receiver, and I think he did his job for the most part.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think he is a little bit overrated now. He did really well in that Super Bowl game. Yeah, he did catch those incredible balls that were thrown at him, and he was a big reason why they won that Super Bowl, the Rams. But with the New York Giants in his final years, he was already going down, in my opinion. He wasn't the elite wide receiver that we saw coming out of college. Then he went to Cleveland, and in Cleveland he didn't do anything, plus his injuries. And you can say whatever you want about Baker Mayfield or the team and the coaches, but he didn't do much there either. And years have passed by. So I don't think he was worth all that money, but we'll see. I don't think he can produce game in and game out. Hopefully he shuts me up, though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much done. And I think a lot of that, of his performance, was what was holding him back was the injuries again. Because when he was with the Browns, I think that's where it all started, if I'm not mistaken. That's when he started struggling with the whole injuries. I don't know. What?
No, you're fine.
Because he was there for how many years? I was trying to think of that. He was there for 3 years?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years.
Right? And he wanted to go there because he signed, or what's it called? Landry was there too.
Right.
Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, they were teammates in college and LSU.
And Baker Mayfield was there, and there's this whole hype around the Browns, and they were going to go to the playoffs, and blah, blah, blah. They're going to do so many things. And then, it wasn't so cool. It didn't pan out at all to be what it was hyped about, at least, by some people. So it really took a turn for his career there, and I think that's where it went kind of downhillish. And he really, I think going to the Rams was really his last-ditch effort to be somewhat successful, and he was able to do that. And that ACL injury, just really, really bad timing for him. And I think there's a chance to prove something more there. And I think that's why he was so bummed out about that. But he got his ring, and he got paid. So, like I said, I think it's fine. It'll be his last season, and we're done with that. And I think maybe he's just a little bit overrated, but just a little bit. I think that's because of what he went through. Aside from that, I think he's a great wide receiver. I mean, he was really good with the Giants. Look what he did to the Cowboys.
In the beginning of his career, but after that, I haven't seen anything good about him except that Super Bowl. And he wasn't there the whole season. Let me just also say.
No, yeah, he was in the second half when he signed with them, right? A little bit.
Yeah, and I believe he was still injured throughout, and then he came in injured in the Super Bowl. Still, he wasn't 100%, and then he got even more injured in the Super Bowl. Dude, this is what I'm telling you. It's not about his talent. It's just he can't perform how he used to because of all these injuries.
Yeah, those are, I think, the biggest setbacks for his career, and it sucks. So, I want to shift on over to the Cowboys. Zack Martin reportedly not showing up to training camp because he's unhappy about his contract situation right now. He's one of the best guards in the league, if not the best, right? And, he wants to get the money he deserves. Again, we go back to contract talks here. So he's unhappy about the team's interest, the Cowboys' interest, in restructuring his contract. So he didn't report to training camp. So what do you guys think? Are the Cowboys in trouble because Zack Martin is not reporting and they're not paying him?
It's simple. This can be bad for Dallas, and I think they should pay him. And if they don't, have a good backup plan because he is what makes your line and Dak to be good, right? If he's not there, I can't. I'm not a believer. I don't hate Dak, but I'm not a believer either. I just don't. He needs a good line.
He is a big focal point in that offensive line. He may be the best guard in the NFL. I'm just very concerned for the Cowboys. They are in trouble because Mike McCarthy said that he wants to run the ball. He took the play calling. He fired his offensive coordinator. And what makes the running game happen is that O-line. So if they don't pay him, and if you have a disgruntled guard, which is a really important position as well, then you're going to have some trouble.
They got as backup. So Tyler Smith was originally a guard, right?
Left
but the
guard.
whole situation with which is the backup directly to Martin, right?
No, Zack Martin is right tackle.
Right guard.
Right. Which
is who was the other guy? Oh my God, Viedas. I feel like they're always switching with the left guard.
With the left guard? Well, it started with Taylor Smith and then
Tyler Smith. But then they switched it because Tyron Smith had obviously injury problems.
Right.
So Tyler Smith moved to the left tackle. So I guess what I'm trying to getting at, because and this is an example, they're moving their pieces around in the O-line all over the place. And I think they have, if not a pretty good depth in the O-line because they keep switching around and they like to beef it up whenever they can. But having the anchor of that offensive line is not reporting and not having him be paid, right, what he deserves is a big problem because that's, again, what it gets it running. And he's getting up there in age soon. So you're enjoying him in his prime, and he deserves his prime money right now. And not having him show up, not paying him, is going to be a big problem for that O-line, and they're going to have to find ways to fix that if they don't want to pay him what he deserves. Because he's been friendly about his whole construct of his contract here. The way they were building it, if I'm not wrong, it was a pretty team-friendly contract, I remember being. But now he's like, hey, this is like a bigger deal now. I'm like basically the best in the game, and I'm not getting my money, so I'm not showing up.
Trayvon Diggs was another player that was also disgruntled about his contract, and he just got paid today as well. I'm sure that
they also got to worry about CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, sorry.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons is probably next year. They're going to start looking at those contracts. But I still think that they're going to work something out with Zack Martin. It'll be really dumb, especially, again, I keep saying that Jerry Jones is coming up in age. He's 80 years old, I believe. So I think they need to win now, and the O-line is the heart and soul of that offense. So they have Tony Pollard, and then behind Tony Pollard they have Vaughn, which is like a 5-foot running back. I don't know how that's gonna work out. Maybe like a Danny Woodhead type of player, or what was the other player from the Chargers? Sproles. Hopefully it turns out like those types of players and they do something, but it is really concerning that they're having some troubles with the O-line. I know Terrence Steele is actually off of PUP, so he's going to be there at right tackle. They just got to get all of this situated, and I do believe that the Cowboys are not going into free agency and get big-time players because they have big-time players that they're going to have to pay within their team. We just saw them pay Diggs. Micah Parsons is going to come up. CeeDee Lamb is going to come up as well. So they need to save their money as much as they can. So I can understand that point of view as well.
Looking at the roster right now, and I don't know why he isn't showing up, unless I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm trying to look at the offensive line because I know they lost someone else who was actually kind of decent. I'm trying to remember his name. I think he went to the Dolphins. I don't know if you remember.
And the O-line?
Yeah. There's an O-line that left, and he was, oh man, what was his name?
Was it the center?
Oh, was it the center?
It could be.
McGovern?
Yeah.
It was McGovern.
It was McGovern.
And he wasn't bad.
No, he was all right.
But I mean, whenever you find someone good enough, you got to keep him. I don't know. Maybe he was asking for too much.
Yeah, look at this offensive line. I mean, you have Tyron Smith. If he plays consistent and doesn't get injured, he's a big time left tackle. But
he's always injured. Every single season for the past 3 seasons.
Yeah, I agree.
And whenever he's not there, the game is crap.
Well, not necessarily. Last year, Tyler Smith did a really good job as substituting him. But
I heard Tyron Smith.
He's a good substitute.
Yeah, Tyron Smith.
I heard Tyron Smith.
Yeah, he's the one that gets injured a lot, but he's a solid left tackle.
And they figured to put Tyler Smith to replace him there as left tackle.
Right.
Which he hasn't done because he's a guard. And now they shift him over.
Right. And now he's back at guard. You have the center, Tyler Badays. I can't really say his last name, but he's been there for quite some time, so he's been doing okay. Since
he's okay.
Yeah, since Frederick left, he's been okay. Not as good as Frederick, but still doing okay. And then you have Zack Martin, which he's a Hall of Famer. And Terrence Steele, he's been doing a really good job. It's just that unfortunate he got injured last year. But that's a really good offensive line.
Yeah, for what they got, yep.
Yeah. Then you have Tony Pollard and, Deuce Vaughn. They're looking at him. Hopefully he takes the second spot. But as of right now, they have Malik Davis and Ronald Jones ahead of him. That doesn't excite me too much. Tony Pollard, he's the only thing exciting. But behind him, you do need a run and 2 punch and a running back committee.
You do.
And that's what Zeke was. It's just too bad that Zeke is too expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's what they got. It's not terrible as long as they keep Zack Martin. And I think if Zack Martin's there, they'll be fine. Even if Tyron Smith gets injured, I think they're fine.
Who knows? Maybe behind closed doors, the Cowboys are just in panic mode because they need to figure this out when paying Zack Martin. I think they'll figure it out, but I think they can be in a panic mode because that's what Zack Martin was really frustrating, that
We don't know asking, how bad the contract talks are.
Well, he said that he got really frustrated because it seemed like the Cowboys were not caring of restructuring his deal. Like they were just pushing it aside, like not putting any focus on it. That's why he's like, okay, fine, you want to play that way? I'm not going to fly to Oxford for training camp. And that's exactly what he did to see if he gets their attention. I bet you now he did.
Yeah, but it what? Because there's times where it's like they want to see how far they can push the player. You know those situations where they like really try their best to like
employees
give them what they want
to see how
to see like, oh, okay, oh, you're about to leave, oh yeah, we'll give you the money, here you go,
or just
we had it this whole time,
or just leave,
or just leave.
I don't like it what's going on, and it really sucks they have to deal with this. I mean, this is exactly why Tony Romo is how he was back in the day. He was all beat up, and they finally got one of the best O-lines, if not the best, that they've had in who knows how long. And they were the best O-line at that time. And now it's like, it's falling apart all over again. So it's weird that they didn't see, I guess, what was able to be produced because of the offensive line, because with Zeke Elliott, it was like insanely good. So it's weird that, how do you not care that much about your O-line after what they were able to give you? That's kind of like the weird part. Why are they not learning that the offensive line is the anchor of this offense right now? Getting a good offensive line means you'll have a good offense. I think that's what a lot of teams should be learning right now. Why are you going to have your guy running around, depending on your quarterback to run around, or your running back having to do some insane stuff? Like, if you can have a decent running back, but as long as you have a great O-line, it'll be good. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, anyways, why don't we talk about the Netflix series that you guys have been, I guess a lot of people have been talking about. It's been in quite a bit of conversation, I would say, with Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins. It's on Netflix series. It's called Quarterback. What are your guys' review on that show so far?
It's a show that is the closest thing to Hard Knocks. It's a really good quality show. If you're a fan of football, I'm sure that you'll love it. It just makes you a bigger fan of Patrick Mahomes, of how competitive he is, even though he already won a Super Bowl and he was on his way last year to win that second Super Bowl. I just am a huge fan of those types of athletes that are just competitive and continue to try to win and win and win and win, regardless of money or anything like that. We all saw how Patrick Mahomes did a contract-friendly deal, even though in the long run, they are going to be paying him a lot of money, but it's like a 10-year contract, I believe. So yeah, it's a really good show. And also Kirk Cousins, we know how he plays, but he is really good not in primetime games, and in primetime games he falls short, but he's just the guy that you also want to cheer for to win. He's a really good player. And for Mariota, unfortunately, he just has been having his troubles, but you do see how he struggles and how he needs to get his composure back to be able to win. And it's a really good way of seeing the life of quarterbacks.
Yeah, this show really highlights how hard it is to be a quarterback. And this show also shows how a lot of people are going to come out loving Patrick Mahomes because he's so competitive. And even after a loss, even after his Super Bowl winning, he still focuses on those losses. And you just love how competitive he is, and he wants to win. Kirk Cousins is a lovable guy. He's a father. He definitely acts like a dad, even though Patrick Mahomes is a dad too. But just there's something about Kirk Cousins where he just dadified himself more. That's a word. It's not a word. But he's just a dad, and you can kind of root for the guy too. And, Marcus Mariota, you feel a little bad for the dude. He's just not getting it. And, tough breaks.
Tough breaks. We need one on Aaron Rodgers, please. I want to see his life.
I think I read somewhere on Twitter, I don't know if we talked about it, and it got renewed for a second season, and I believe Aaron Rodgers was scheduled to be on the second season.
No way.
So he's gonna, if that's true, then he's gonna have a lot of cameras with him as in training camp with Hard Knocks, and also throughout the whole season.
Maybe that's why he wasn't happy about the whole Hard Knocks preseason stuff.
Because it's more and more.
Because it's not
more and more
constant, and you can tell that the
tired.
Mahomes kind of. I think they like the camera. I don't think he has a problem with it. The Mahomes family.
Yeah, probably.
So I have here the quarterback supposedly going to be on the next season. So we have Aaron Rodgers, we have Josh Allen, and we have Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones, yeah, you got a really good one.
I think Josh Allen is really good too. So with this season that's on right now, I think you got a top tier quarterback, an average quarterback that is pretty good with Kirk Cousins, and then you have a quarterback that just struggles with Marcus Mariota. And this second season, I don't see it besides the middle tier one, because Aaron Rodgers is a top tier quarterback, Josh Allen's a top tier quarterback, and then you have Daniel Jones, which is a struggled quarterback.
It would be interesting to see like those quarterbacks that are really passionate on their team and you can see it. I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe someone like Goff, or I'm trying to think of someone else.
Russell Wilson.
No. Oh man. Nah, never mind. I was trying to think of like who else, because it's gonna be 3 quarterbacks, and if they keep on doing it like every year, oh man.
I would think Ritter is gonna be a good one, as he's taking on the reins for the Atlanta Falcons. It is practically brand new, even though he did play a little bit last season, but he's practically still brand new. And he has Drake London, he has Robinson as running back, he has Kyle Pitts, basically a college all-star team. And he also was a really good college quarterback when Cincinnati. It would be really interesting to see how he like struggles and how he tries to come out as a brand new quarterback.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Speaking about quarterbacks, why don't we go over the top 5 fantasy quarterback rankings here? We can have Andy start this first with his top 5 fantasy quarterback rankings.
Yeah, for 2023 top 5 fantasy quarterbacks, I have Patrick Mahomes, number 1. Everybody should have him not as number 1. He's the king quarterback of the NFL right now. Josh Allen is a fantasy superstar, even though he did struggle last year, but that was because he was injured, and now he is 100% ready to go. On 3rd, I have Jalen Hurts. He did tremendous last year in fantasy-wise, and he did go to the Super Bowl, and I'm sure that that's going to be continuing on. He reminds me of how Russell Wilson isn't at the beginning of his career. He has his legs and he has his arm. 4th, I have Lamar Jackson. He's a really good fantasy quarterback. He actually got a better offense. Now they brought in Odell Beckham. I don't know how long he'll stay, but they did draft Flowers from college in the 1st round. So that's going to help him out as well. And hopefully the running backs are helping him as well, being healthy. And last place on 5th, I actually have Justin Fields. That could be a questionable place for Justin Fields. But since he is going to be using his legs even more this year, I think he's going to be a great fantasy, especially in the red zone.
Who's your number 1 and number 2 again?
Mahomes and Josh Allen.
You didn't put Joe Burrow?
Yeah, he's actually in my 5th, but I kind of like Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, or Joe Burrow. I don't know who to put.
Why didn't you put Joe Burrow in your top 5?
Because he's not a. Well, I didn't put it. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm not answering for you.
I think we're gonna have the same mentality that he's not a running quarterback, and when you're in fantasy, you actually prefer a quarterback can throw and run. That's why.
Justin Herbert didn't have that. I think he had a pretty good season for not being a running quarterback.
Oh yeah, I won my fantasy thanks to that guy for sure. But
there you go.
Yeah, but it's a higher percentage that you'll get those same numbers with these running quarterbacks. I am the type of fantasy player that gets a quarterback towards the end. So that year, nobody was getting Justin Herbert because he was a rookie, and so I just gambled with him, and luckily it turned out great for me. But if you draft any of these quarterbacks, you're going to do perfectly fine. With Justin Fields, I mean, that's the only question mark that I'm going to be putting on, because I don't know how Chicago's going to do this year because of their struggles. But I'm sure that you're not going to have any trouble, at least with the top 4, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, and Jackson.
I think Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith are going to be great pickups after those top 5. I think they're like, if you're not the type of person to go for a quarterback right away, those are great options.
Yeah, that might be my quarterbacks.
I'm thinking Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, kind of.
Hey, why not Daniel Jones? He's a runner.
No. He is a runner.
But is he a...
Wait, they got Saquon back? Come on.
I mean, he could be good. I don't know. He could be a sleeper.
Watch me draft them, honestly, because all of the other players are going to be taken.
They're going to be gone.
No, he did okay as a quarterback last year with
Kirk Cousins, always reliable. Just
his buys in the 13th week. Isn't that, when is the playoffs? The 15th, 14th?
Don't forget about Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's a big question mark. That's another player that I might draft in the end. I'm sure I'm not going to draft none of these guys that I mentioned, because that's not how I roster my
Those guys are gone in the first like 3-4 rounds.
Probably starting in the third and fourth round. Yeah, that's when they're going to be taken off the board. And I start getting my quarterbacks really late, like around 7th or 5th. 5th, and that's a maybe.
Lamar Jackson was your 5th?
4th. 5th is Justin Fields. And the reason I put Lamar Jackson 4th is because he did get injured last year. I don't know, once you start getting those injuries as a running type of quarterback, it starts diminishing the way that you play. And if he's going to start throwing, I don't know how he's going to be doing throwing only the ball and not using his legs. So that's why I put him 4th.
I got another one to throw at you. What about Deshaun Watson?
I just said that.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be available. I also might pick. I really don't like picking 2 quarterbacks. I just stick with one. But I may be taking a second one if I do see some potential, because all of these that I'm naming in the end, that like Trevor Lawrence, that's a questionable pick. Deshaun Watson's a questionable pick as well.
I'd be more confident in Trevor Lawrence than Deshaun Watson.
I'd be more confident in Daniel Jones than Deshaun Watson.
Why?
Really?
I've seen Deshaun Watson. He can actually
remember,
play.
They have Brian Dable. He was playing really good last year. They got Barkley back. Could be a good thing.
I'd be more confident in Will Levis than Daniel Jones.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just he's not. I think Daniel Jones will have a good fantasy this year too. It's tough. I think, you know what? Now that we're kind of talking about it, I think quarterbacks are pretty stacked this year. No, at least in potential.
I'm sure.
Why not Anthony Richardson? There's a lot of risk, right?
Yeah.
But the upside of this, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks with high upside.
It could be a year, if you don't get none of these top tier quarterbacks, it could be a year that you are a streaming quarterback. You could be in a streaming quarterback position, and that's not a bad thing. Just looking at the matchups, like you say, we have Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones. Depending on the matchups, you might be just streaming, not drafting 2, and just put your starting quarterback in the bench sometimes and get a streaming quarterback.
The problem is that, well, could be just our league, but people draft 2 quarterbacks and you have none to stream.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
For sure. But there's 32 teams. Our league is 12, so if everybody gets 2 quarterbacks, that's 24.
I think from what I'm remembering, I don't think streaming was that bad in the last few years.
I just don't understand people that get 2 quarterbacks. If you got a top tier quarterback, like you're just stashing a quarterback that you're just wasting a position. Usually it's really hard for people to trade in fantasy.
Yeah, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know that quarterbacks are fine this year, and I don't think they should be on. I think you should worry more about running backs and wide receivers as usual, right? But there's always like a worry of like, because I mean, it's happened. It's not crazy to hear like Patrick Mahomes got drafted in the 2nd round or 3rd round.
I don't know. I think this year might be more of instead of a running back picking a running back first, it might be a wide receiver pick first.
There's going to be a lot of wide receivers in this 1st round being picked up.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to worry about. It's definitely something to worry about for wide receivers now that we're seeing less and less of running backs. It's going to be really interesting with the running backs this year. I don't know. I'm excited. I mean, we're getting really close to it, and there's people who already started, which is crazy because the training camp's going on right now.
Yeah, I would.
Crazy.
Yeah, I would at least.
Crazy.
Yeah, do
really
your
crazy.
fantasy after the 3rd preseason or something, because we just saw Nyheim Hines get injured for the whole season, and you don't want that to happen once you draft your team.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's all for me. I don't know if you guys have anything else.
None for me.
Nope. Hard Knocks, August 8th.
Let's go.
2 weeks from today.
That's very exciting. I'm going to see Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be the star, and then Sauce Gardner. Who else is on there? Williams just got paid.
Brees Hall and crutches still, maybe?
No crutches.
No crutches anymore?
Still
no?
walking.
Nice.
We'll probably see Cobb and Lazard there as well, saying the transition from Green Bay to New York and how excited they are at the typical responses. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to the very end. And we'd love to see you guys giving your opinion with us on our social media, which is football_tailgaters, on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.